Hi there, my lovely friends. I know we've got a slight shift in direction at the moment. If any of you are following me on my TikTok, then you'll know that I have recently had my whole desk and everything has been turned around so that I can now look out of my front door without getting up from my office desk, which is always handy. But it's going to take a bit of getting used to with the background. Although it doesn't look too bad, does it? Just perhaps a little bit blown out because it's an extremely sunny and hot day here in New Zealand today. So you have a soggy middle. You've been writing stories and you get to the middle and then you just stop because you've lost all excitement for your story. You've got no idea where you're going next. And whether you're a plotter or a pantser, quite honestly, that middle part of your book can be the hardest bit to get through. So here's a few tips on how to deal with your soggy middle. All of us, all authors, doesn't matter who you are, whether you're somebody like me who self-publishes or somebody grand like Stephen King or whoever else. Everybody starts off their story with an element of an excitement. You know, you've got the opening scenes in your head. You really want your readers to love your new characters. You're introducing your new world and your plot lines and everything's really awesome. And the thing is niggling there in the back of your head is this amazing climax scene that you've got planned for the story. But there's a heck of a jump between the first chapters where you're excited about things and that climax scene, which comes at the end. And that bit is known as the soggy middle. Now, if you're a plotter, in theory, it shouldn't be so bad. But if you're writing your middle chapters and you're not feeling excited about them, like you basically feel like you're plodding through because you want to get to the climax, then what that means is that you just don't have enough plot. Now, it may be that when you outlined it all out, that you had a very clear path from where you started at the beginning to where you plan on getting to at the end. But a lot of authors neglect the importance and the opportunities that come from having a few little subplots. And honestly, if you're struggling with the soggy middle syndrome, I know of so many authors who have commented that they get so far, you get 3-5 chapters in, and then you just lose it. You lose that spark, you lose that excitement because you know where you're going, but the path there looks really boring. So don't take the direct path. Add yourself in some little subplots. Now, this works for pantsers too, although we create our own paths. I mean, I'm a pantser and we create our own paths. We start every story with excitement because we don't know how it's going to end. And that's part of the joys of being a pantser. However, we can still get bogged down in the middle because especially when you've been writing a while, or even if you've been reading a lot, you know that a story is paced in a certain way. And you can't just dive from your opening chapters to your climatic ending because the climatic scene is not going to have anywhere near the impact that you would hope it have if you haven't gone through, if your characters haven't gone through these things in the middle. This is where we really get to know our characters. This is where we get to see perhaps little nuanced bits about them that we weren't aware of. Now, I'll give you an example. One of the books I'm currently writing at the moment, well, actually it's the only one I'm writing at the moment because I finished my other one the other day, but the one I'm writing at the moment for my Patreon serial, I've mentioned it before a couple of times on this channel, and it's about Benedict and Dixon, and Benedict is a necromancer and Dixon is a bear shifter, and they met when the ghost of Dixon's sister sought out Benedict to pass on a warning to her brother. And it turned out these two were mates and blah, blah, blah. And they actually had a long way to go. Like it was 50,000 words before they sort of even basically were in the same room together, you know, long enough to actually make anything happen. Because, of course, Dixon was coping with the death of his sister and everything else. But the thing was, as again, I actually do have an idea where the climax of the story is going to go, but I needed something else because the readers hadn't had a chance to see Benedict and Dixon together. And because they hadn't had that, like I write in dual person point of view, right? So one chapter will be about Dixon, one will be about Benedict, Dixon, Benedict, and so on. But because so much of the book, they were apart, like 50,000 words worth of apart, we were learning about them individually, but we didn't know anything about them as a couple. So we needed something in the middle before, you know, we deal with the main issue. So what I did was I introduced a subplot. We're dealing with the murder of Dixon's sister. We know who's done it. The person who's done it is being taken care of, as a YouTube euphemism. The climax is going to come from something else that stemmed from that death. But we needed something. I needed to show like Benedict and Dixon in like regular day-to-day, going about their business and obviously dealing with this as well. So I introduced a subplot with a secondary character, a police detective that was not the one that was actually investigating Emma's death, but another one who caught wind of Dixon's relationship with the killer. Now, obviously, I'm not going to say anything more than that. You want to know about it, then keep an eye on my descriptions in March, because it will be my new release in March, or go and join up on my Patreon. But you see, the thing is that, yeah, what I've done is, so I've created another smaller plot in the middle, which will be resolved like within 3 or 4 chapters. You know, we find out why this person's targeting Dixon. We find out what we can do about it, this sort of thing. And it might be something really quite basic. It doesn't have to be a drag down fight. It doesn't have to be a major confrontation scene. Sometimes you can just deal with things in a remarkably low key way, because of course you still want your readers to be invested in what happens at your climax scenes at the end of the book. So when you're stuck in your middle, don't lose excitement for it, because if you lose excitement for your story, then your readers will too. And you don't want that to happen. Even if you plod through, honestly, it's like there's a vibe comes up from the page or something. Readers know when you're not invested. So if you're not happy with what your characters are doing in the middle of your book, then have them do something else. Have them do totally random things. I think in one of my books, what did I do? I sent them to a theme park, you know, one of those things with Ferris wheels and things. I sent them there. It was just like a little afternoon scene. But it turns out that one of the characters absolutely lived for this sort of thing and the adrenaline rush. And the other guy, who was actually related to a god, an ancient god, was just like, he didn't like the idea of his feet not being on the ground. You know, you learn more about your characters. And one other tip I will offer, because realistically, you can weave in subplots at any point along your story. And provided you've seeded something at the beginning or towards the beginning of the story, which can be anything from a random comment, like don't just do giant neon sign, this is going to be a subplot later on, but you might mention somebody in passing, or you might mention something in passing. But even if you haven't done that, even if you haven't done any of that, if you've reached the point when you are going to give up on your story, pull out a gun and shoot somebody on the page, obviously. Please, nobody clip that out of context. But do something totally random, because in case you haven't noticed, life is like that. Random things happen. And if you want to create a bit of spark, I mean, pulling out a gun doesn't have to mean that somebody's died. It doesn't even have to be a gun. It could be a firework. It could be a knife. It could be a flopped cake. It can be anything at all, but pull out something that your characters can react to, so that your readers get to know them more. Because the more your readers know about your characters in the middle of the book, the more they're going to care about the outcome when it comes to the end. So no matter, even if you're writing mafia bosses, have them try and make dinner for their partner and it not work. Or actually, I was just thinking of that. I can just see some mafia boss trying to make dinner or trying to create a cake or something like that for their significant other, and then it not working and they're pulling out a gun and shooting the microwave or something. Something, it doesn't matter what it is, but take your situation, weave yourself a little subplot, a little scene, a little something that shows your reader who your characters really are, another dimension of them, and helps propel you along towards that climatic scene you're so looking forward to writing. So that's my little tips for how to get past your soggy middle. Don't give up. Write something. Remember, and this is the thing. Sorry, I should have scripted this because now I'm going to keep thinking of little asides all over the place. But remember, you are writing the book you want to read. So if you've got 5 chapters in and now you're thinking, I'm lost all excitement, I don't know what's going to happen next, or whatever else, this is the perfect opportunity for you to make shit up, because that's what writing fiction is all about. Make it random, my friends. And honestly, if somebody does write that scene about a mafia boss shooting a microwave oven, can you please drop me a link below, because I want to read it. If you've got any questions at all, drop them in the comments below. If this was helpful to you at all, please hit the like button. If you'd like more tips and tricks on how to write and self-publish your fiction so that you get a published book done in 2024, please hit the subscribe button. I answer all comments. Hug the ones you love, my friends, and we'll catch you in the next video. Bye.